Off to stop number 1. Got 3 cars today, maybe 4. Gotta go ahead and get this down here. That's probably gonna be a defrost heater. So I'm gonna do an estimate. lights. Power looks like the power's out. Don't y'all do it. See him sneaking out there. 251 607.
Well,
Hey Nelson, it's Doug. We talked last night. I'm outside about the
yeah,
I'm outside your door about the refrigerator.
yeah,
All right. You here?
yeah. Give me one
Okay.
second.
All right. All right, we are done here. Let's go to the next stop, bro.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up.
Thank you for calling the Technician Help Hotline. Our calls may be monitored or recorded for quality or training purposes. Please listen closely as our menu options have changed. For dispatch, press 1. If you are
Thank you for calling Fulton Home Pharmaceuticals. This is Yvonne. How may I assist?
This is Doug with Post. I have a job ID for you.
May I have it?
192-6155.
Okay, for a moment. So, for Mr. Paco.
Yeah, I still haven't been able to reach him. I've been texting, I've been calling. I thought maybe you'd give it a try because I'm en route. Looks like a 45-minute ride.
Okay, no worries. I'll try to call them for you. Is it okay if I put you on hold for this?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Good God. Yeah.
Hello there.
Hello.
Yes. I tried to call the customer but I was routed to the voicemail. Since you're still on your way, I suggest that you proceed to your other jobs instead, since
Okay.
we're not sure if the customer is at home.
Okay. I'll go do a door knock.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yes, you go ahead, please.
All right. Thank you.
And please update your status as well so we know if we should close this with a dispatch fee.
Okay. I'm on my way there, and I'm gonna wait till 10 o'clock once I get there.
Okay, yes. Go ahead. And if that's it, thank you for calling, Pulse, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Yo! Did you see me? Is he there? Oh, he probably way in the back something. Who hangs out in the front? Yeah. Alright, this guy. I don't bother the man. I already got shot at last week. Is that him? No. Boy. Could have been right there. Scroll out. No, I'm not. got that motherfucker. Damn. Be patient. Show the patience. Show the patience. go punk ass to sleep. Go was very nice. You know, tip though. All right, let's see what we're gonna do here. We have 10:15. Yeah, we gotta go somewhere. 10:25. What? 025 Winterside. Not too far. Let's break out here. This is Mary. I'm too close to go all the way to Cotton. So, let's get up out of here. Oh, didn't I close it? Nope. I hate to cut that grass. Ooh. Salt and ice. But you got a boat down there. All right, bro. All right.
There on that train in Charlotte, Irina Zarutska. Last time I was asking where you guys thought we were, you know, as far as in the country relation. Like, have you guys heard of the term black fatigue?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You guys know what that means?
Since the last time you came, that's become a thing. Yeah, I was gonna say that's just become a recent thing.
And do you know what it means?
No, I'm not sure.
It's a term that's being used by people in the white community, by and large, again, saying they feel like they've been victimized and they're tired of taking that shit. You know, that was a girl who was dying alone in public. And that was a guy who was let out 14 times. 14 times, including violent crimes, in the name of racial justice, right? He didn't have to post bail. He didn't have to appear back in court. This is not the first time he's assaulted someone.
How do we know that was in the interest of racial justice as opposed to just being
because the judge said it.
A fucked up attempt at justice, period.
Yeah.
Like, the legal system has its flaws.
Yeah.
And people have been making complaints about that for decades, right? But that's just, to me, that's a mental health thing more than it's a black and white thing.
Well, I'll tell you why, because white people are saying it now.
Right.
Not just white people are saying, hey, we're in
makes it a bigger thing.
Well, because, you know, white people are 12 times as likely to be killed by a black person any other way around. I'm just going to shoot you straight. It's not even close.
Where?
across the country.
Where? Like not in
The United States. I mean, we're not talking about Ghana.
in like
Yeah.
what I'm saying is in white communities or in quote unquote so-called white communities.
Across the country, the rate is a black man or person, because most murders men. There are very few female murders. 12 times more likely to kill a white person the other way around. And then you look at the average amount of
I
times.
think we need to pause it on that stat right there. That is a crazy
Yeah,
stat.
that's
I
a
want
crazy
to know
stat.
where he got that stat. I've never seen that stat before. I'm not saying
Should we
it's
look it
not
up?
true.
Should we look it up?
You know what I always realize? It's always black and white. Why we never hear about no Asians and whites, Indians and whites? We have
As
never
far
seen
as
Asians
what?
and
Asians and whites, Indians and whites. As far as what?
like with the racial problem. Like why nobody other groups?
I know a lot of white people are getting mad at Indians because there's a lot of them here on H-1Bs and they say they don't want them here.
You think it's as bad as the black against white people?
No, but it's definitely something I've been noticing lately.
You think it's on the like me personally? I don't really see.
Well, I mean, obviously, like black and white in America is tribal because, or is charged as it is because slavery.
Yeah.
And we're always constantly reminded of slavery everywhere you turn.
But you know the Chinese was in internment camps.
Yeah, but you don't
Asians.
really learn that as much in school. It's not really something that's just like thrown
They
around.
like
It's not
bombed
like
a whole civilization of people. They
That was in
got
Japan.
bombed.
That was because of a war.
I know. I'm just saying.
That was
like,
at war.
I can't find the stat, but I can't find anything disproving it either, but I can't find it.
I just think that's an interesting stat.
I
12
think that
times
is.
more likely.
Is that
Another former instructor said the institution was, quote, a total lie.
The National Socialist Party, a faction of the National Social. The National Socialist Party, a faction of the Aryan. Law Center. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Nels, to lead us all in the pledge. Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll start with opening statements. The chair now recognizes himself for opening statements. It's always worse than we thought. The one thing we get wrong when we start these investigations, when we start this oversight, is it's always worse than we thought. We now have the superseding indictment from the Justice Department. It wasn't $3 million that they were paying these field sources. It was actually $4 million the Southern Poverty Law Center paid to field sources. And they didn't just pay them to foment the hate they told their donors they were fighting. They actually dated them. That's right. Southern Poverty Law Center employee was in a romantic relationship with field source number 9, a member of the Racist National Alliance. This SPLC employee, who was supposed to be dismantling hate groups with the Intelligence Project, was dating the field source that they were paying. And in fact, they had a joint bank account. Wow. And guess what the SPLC paid this individual? $1.2 million to, again, create and foment the hate they told their donors they were fighting. Now it gets worse. An individual who led the National Socialist Party, a faction of the Aryan nations, reached out to SPLC. He wanted out. He wanted help in leaving this racist group. And what did the SPLC do? They said, no, no, no.
Can I help you? Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hey, are you fixing also the oven?
Who am I speaking to?
This is Mr. Duker. I have your business card a few years ago. I gave you some couple of brothers.
Oh, how you doing, sir? So you have
I'm doing good.
You have a gas or electric oven?
It's an electrical.
Okay, who makes it?
What, the brand?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see which brand so I can call you back.
Okay, make sure you take pictures. And is it standalone oven or it's in the wall?
No, it's a standalone.
Okay. when you're standing in front of it, does it have like a lower door below the oven?
The open door.
Yeah, when you open the oven door, isn't there a door below that?
I haven't checked it because I have a rental in the house.
Sometimes people put pots and pans in the little drawer underneath the oven. I'm just trying to see if you had that, because in that door it should be a model number too. So if you can get back with me with that information. What city you live in?
Everybody.
Oh sure, man. I'll be glad to help you out.
Let me take the picture and I'll call you right back.
Sure.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Will reimburse you for hosting rallies, purchasing racist materials. Of course, that was field source number 30. How about F37, field source 37? This person's the one who coordinated transportation and attended the 2017 rally in Charlottesville. Southern Poverty Law Center paid him $300,000 to the guy who helped put together the event where a young lady was killed. F27, he was paid $350,000. What'd he do? He ran the Aryan Nations Motorcycle Club. F43, president of some crazy group, was previously convicted of cross-burning, but the SPLC thought he was worth $19,000 of their donors' money. Again, all told, $4 million to manufacture hate. We said this last hearing. I still remember Rahm Emanuel saying, talking about Democrats, never let a crisis go to waste. The SPLC took it a step further. They created the crisis. They manufactured the crisis, and by so doing, they became the standard, the source for determining who was a hate group. They labeled Family Research Council a hate group. Moms for Liberty was labeled a hate group. Turning Point USA labeled a hate group. Alliance Defending Freedom, even though they argued multiple cases, won 16 cases in front of the Supreme Court, they were labeled a hate group, but never Jane's Revenge, never the group who vandalized crisis pregnancy centers, churches, in the aftermath of the Dobbs decision. They never got labeled. And the Biden Justice Department help make them the standard. This is probably the part that bothers me, I think bothers most people the most. They help make the Southern Poverty the standard in evaluating who's a hate group, who isn't. Because they consulted with them, they had quarterly meetings. The Deputy Attorney General, Lisa Monaco, quarterly met with SPLC. They would give SPLC any information they had, the Justice Department, the FBI had, they give it to them first. They even used them to train prosecutors. And of course, we know what it resulted in. The now famous memorandum from the FBI field office in Richmond, Virginia, where the FBI said if you're a pro-life Catholic, you're an extremist. And of course, who did they cite for that? You guessed it, Southern Poverty Law Center. Southern Poverty Law Center became part of the weaponized Garland Biden Justice Department. Now here's what's interesting. The Biden DOJ knew all about this scam that they were running. They knew the SPLC was doing this, but they didn't pursue the case. They dropped the case. Because when you meet with them, when you consult with them, when you have them train your prosecutors, you're not going to prosecute. Nope, you're not going to do it because it's too valuable politically. Here's the scary part. And I'm sure we'll have questions from Mr. Fair later on about this. Here's the scary part. It all worked. Field Source 37, the guy at the Charlottesville rally, helped plan that rally, coordinate transportation there, was paid to attend. After the event, again, after the event where a lady was killed, Southern Poverty Law Center almost tripled their income. $51 million to $133 million. After they were coordinated hate that took place at that crazy rally. run a scam, you become the standard, you don't get prosecuted, and you make a ton of money. They got 800 million assets, 700 million in an endowment. Such a deal. And they would have gotten away with it, but for the oversight of Congress, more importantly, the work of the Justice Department. So God bless the Attorney General and the work him and his team are doing. We look forward to hearing from our witnesses today and asking them questions. And with that, I would yield to the ranking member for an opening statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Welcome to our witnesses. Created in 1971 and headquartered in Montgomery, Alabama. Created in 1971, headquartered in Montgomery, Alabama. The Southern Poverty Law Center is one of America's leading civil rights groups. It fights for voting rights throughout the South, economic justice, and criminal justice reform. Like every major civil rights group in our history, it's been subjected to serious white supremacist violence. Its leaders have been threatened and attacked since its founding, and SPLC headquarters were firebombed in 1983 by members of the Ku Klux Klan who were convicted of conspiracy in federal court. After this attack and escalating racial terror, the SPLC added to its work a focus on the Klan and neo-Nazi groups and others who take exception to being called hate groups by the SPLC. So they're mad that certain groups that they like are called hate groups. And I can appreciate why people don't want to be called a hate group. I don't like a lot of things that are said about me and the groups that I like. Stephen Miller said, the Democrat Party is not a political party, it's a domestic extremist organization. I don't like that. Kristi Noem called Alex Preddy and Renee Good law-abiding citizens shot down by and appointed by all different presidents. A few weeks ago, a federal judge in Rhode Island, Judge McElroy, called the government's submissions in a case misleading, if not utterly false. Another judge said that DOJ attorneys had submitted a patently false allegation to the court. Another judge rejected administration officials' testimony as disingenuous, squalid, and dishonorable. And another court found the administration had provided a highly misleading, if not intentionally false, sworn declaration so disingenuous that the court is left with little confidence that the United States can be trusted to tell the truth about anything. I predict it will not be long before another federal judge casts this obscene prosecution to the winds. I'm only sorry the great name of the House Judiciary Committee has now been made an accomplice to this fraud against the court and the country. I yield back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back. I think we're part of the fraud. I think the Southern Poverty Law Center was defrauding their donors. Without objection, all of their opening statements will be included in the record. Today's witnesses. Dr. Alveda King is the chair of the American Dream Initiative at the American First Policy Institute. She is the daughter of civil rights activist Reverend A.D. King and the niece of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. She is the founder of Speak for Life, an organization that advocates for the sanctity and dignity of human life. Mr. Brian Fair is the interim CEO and president of the Southern Poverty Law Center. He previously served as the chairman of SPLC's board of directors. Mr. Ryan Bangert is the senior vice president for strategic initiatives and special counsel to the president at the Alliance Defending Freedom. He previously served in the office of the Texas Attorney General and was a litigation partner at Baker Botts LLP. And Professor Mary McCord is a visiting professor of law at the Georgetown University Law Center. She previously served in numerous roles in the Department of Justice. We welcome our witnesses and thank them for appearing today. We'll begin by swearing you in. You know how this works. Would you please rise and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief, so help you God? Records show that the witnesses have answered in the affirmative. Thank you. Please be seated. Please know that your written testimony will be entered into the record in its entirety. Accordingly, we ask that you summarize your testimony in 5 minutes. We're just going to start with Mr. Fair, and we're going to go right down the line. So, Mr. Fair, you are recognized for 5 minutes.
Good morning, Chairman Jordan, Ranking Member Raskin, members of the committee. Last July, I took on a one-year leave from teaching to become the interim head of the Southern Poverty Law Center. So my testimony today will be one of my last official acts in this role. It has been one of the greatest honors of my life to work alongside the talented, dedicated, and principled SPLC staff. For 55 years, with the support of generous donors who appreciate our work, The SPLC has fought racial terror, white supremacy, and other forms of discrimination and hate, seeking to build and defend a multiracial democracy where we can all live and thrive. That was the goal of the civil rights movement, and it is our mission. We are known for exposing and dismantling extremist hate groups. We took on the United Klans of America, whose hateful violence killed 4 little girls in the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing, and we sued them out of existence. In the decades since, hate has continued, but so have our efforts to expose it through litigation, policy, research, and education. We fight for the underdog, the poor, the unhoused, the hungry, the incarcerated, the disenfranchised, the immigrant, the outcast, the vilified. Many groups and some...
One blood, one human race. And if we remember that truth, we can build a future worthy of the sacrifices made by those who came before us. We must speak out for truth and against the forces that would manufacture hate, fear, division, and violence simply to line their pockets and further their political ambitions. Thank you. God bless America, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you. Well done. Mr. Banger, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Jordan, Ranking Member Raskin, members of the committee, for the opportunity to testify before you today. Over 50 years ago, the SPLC was founded to fight the scourge of racism, but the SPLC has drifted from that founding purpose. The indictment alleges that the SPLC deceived donors into funding the racist groups it claimed to fight. But beyond these shocking allegations of hypocrisy lies a broader story: how the SPLC tarred mainstream conservative organizations as hate groups, and then relentlessly sought to silence those groups by persuading America's leading financial and technology firms to exclude them from the marketplace. ADF is one of those organizations. We've been on the SPLC's hate map since 2016, which is odd given that we reject racism. Our Christian faith teaches that all are created equal and all are made in the image of God. But it makes sense when you understand today's SPLC, in the words of some, as a political hit operation. The SPLC has branded ADF and others like us as hate groups solely because it disagrees with our work, grounded in our religious conviction on behalf of children told by the medical establishment to disfigure and permanently mutilate their bodies, on behalf of the most vulnerable among us, both those unborn and those at the end of life. Our advocacy for these mainstream positions has repeatedly led us to the U.S. Supreme Court, where we have secured 18 victories since 2011, including 2 more cases under submission today. In fact, the SPLC even quietly filed an amicus brief supporting one of ADF's Supreme Court wins on behalf of freedom of association and donor privacy. But the SPLC cannot abide our work on behalf of the vulnerable, parents, children, and the unborn. So it has slandered ADF and other groups like us as hate groups, and sought to lock us out of the public square. The SPLC began targeting mainstream Christian and conservative organizations by adding them to their hate map in 2010. 7 years later, the SPLC's fundraising skyrocketed in response to the notorious Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville. But this wasn't a stroke of good luck. The superseding indictment alleges that the SPLC funded and supported one of its ringleaders. In the immediate aftermath of Charlottesville, the SPLC received large donations or commitments from leading firms and personalities, including JP Morgan Chase, Facebook, Google, Twitter, and even Tim Cook at Apple. In 2018, it launched a coalition of left-wing organizations called Change the Terms. They understood that you don't have to win a debate with your opponents if they're invisible. So the coalition targeted critical banking, payment processing, donor advisory, technology, and digital communications infrastructure. It embedded the SPLC within that infrastructure of corporate decision-making, allowing it to influence terms of engagement, flag business partners, and bully corporations into compliance. In short, the SPLC mobilized corporate America to crush the voices of mainstream conservative organizations. The Biden years saw the SPLC deepen its presence in America's political and corporate infrastructure. The Biden DOJ and White House met regularly with SPLC officials. Amazon used the SPLC to blackball groups from its Amazon Smile giving program. So did the employee charitable giving platform Benevity, which serves nearly a quarter of the Fortune 1000. ADF saw tangible impacts. We lost access to the Amazon Smile program, nonprofit pricing from large technology providers like Microsoft, Adobe, and Intuit, web hosting on the Pantheon platform, and access to donor-advised funds at Fidelity. A partisan political organization like the SPLC should never have been allowed to function as an unaccountable private gatekeeper to critical financial, technology, and communication services. And corporations should never have accepted the word of an organization that is itself severely compromised. In addition to standing indicted today, the SPLC has paid millions in settlements for defamation. Its co-founder and president left in 2019 amid staff reports of a systemic culture of racism and sexism. It received an F from Charity Navigator for hoarding donor money to the tune of more than $800 million, much of it offshore. Former employees have said that the SPLC is little more than a highly profitable scam. The time has come to uproot the SPLC from America's financial and technology infrastructure, and Congress can help. Investigations of the SPLC can reach beyond the indictment to examine the SPLC's relationships with financial institutions, technology companies, and digital communications platforms. Moreover, Congress can pass legislation barring federally insured financial institutions from delegating decision-making to private entities that discriminate based on First Amendment protected activity. These would be critical steps toward dismantling the SPLC's shadow censorship regime. We thank the committee for its interest in doing so.
Thank you, Mr. Bangert. Professor McCord, you're recognized.
Members of the committee, thank you for inviting me to testify. The Department of Justice should not use its power as a weapon against people and organizations disliked by the president. No one has said this better than former U.S. Supreme Court Justice and U.S. Attorney General Robert Jackson in his 1940 speech, The Federal Prosecutor. He said, "The prosecutor has more control over life, liberty, and reputation than any other person in America. The prosecutor can order arrests, present cases to the grand jury in secret session, and on the basis of his one-sided presentation of the facts, can cause the citizen to be indicted and held for trial. If the prosecutor is obliged to choose his cases, it follows that he can choose his defendants. It is in this realm in which the prosecutor picks some person whom he dislikes or desires to embarrass, or selects some group of unpopular persons and then looks for an offense, that the greatest danger of abuse of the prosecuting power lies. It is here that law enforcement becomes personal, and the real crime becomes that of being unpopular with the predominant or governing group, being attached to the wrong political views, or being personally obnoxious to or in the way of the prosecutor himself." What Justice Jackson warned about has come to pass. The DOJ has initiated fraud investigations against political enemies such as New York Attorney General Letitia James, Federal Reserve Board member Lisa Cook, and former Chair Jerome Powell, and Senator Adam Schiff. And at the same time, the president has granted clemency to more than 70 allies, donors, and others convicted of hundreds of millions of dollars in fraud across his 2 terms, often after receiving financial or other benefits from them. And he, along with his Attorney General nominee, have orchestrated a fraud on the court, settling the president's collusive lawsuit against the IRS, in which he, his family members, and his businesses all received from the Justice Department an effective pardon from criminal and civil investigations, audits, claims, and prosecutions by any federal department or agency on any subject based on anything that could have been initiated as of the date of the settlement, known or unknown. The so-called settlement came after a federal judge ordered briefing on whether there was actual adversity between the parties, a constitutional requirement for a lawsuit. This one-sided use of prosecutorial power extends to the President's National Security Presidential Memorandum 7. Using the domestic terrorism label, it mandates that federal government, including the DOJ, use every tool in its toolbox to target groups with ideologies this administration perceives as, quote, anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, and anti-Christianity, extremism on migration, race, and gender, and hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family, religion, and morality. NSPM 7 states that the groups and entities that perpetuate this extremism have created a movement that embraces and elevates violence to achieve policy outcomes. It relies for support on the murder of Charlie Kirk, assassination attempts against the president and Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and the so-called riots in protest of ICE activity. And although murders and threats of violence are reprehensible and illegal, the examples do not justify the stark lack of parity in NSPM 7's treatment of supposedly dangerous ideologies. There is no mention in NSPM 7 of the politically motivated murders of Minnesota Democratic legislator Melissa Hortman and her husband, or the mass shootings committed in Buffalo, New York, El Paso, Texas, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania by white supremacists who justified their violence based on the Great Replacement theory. The one-sided memorandum not only lacks legitimacy, it raises the stakes for organizations that hold views the administration dislikes. It has the strong potential to lead to the discriminatory targeting of organizations based on the exercise of First Amendment rights. Within months of then Attorney General Pam Bondi's December 2025 memo reminding prosecutors of the many federal criminal provisions that might be used in implementing NSPM 7, the SPLC was indicted. SPLC has for decades spoken out against racial violence, sued to protect civil rights and dismantle hate groups, and worked cooperatively with law enforcement. Commenting on the charges, the president called SPLC one of the greatest political scams in American history. I'm not here to discuss the substance of the charges against SPLC, which is being ably defended in court, but the targeting of the organization harkens the very danger Justice Jackson warned about, that law enforcement becomes personal and the real crime becomes that of being unpopular with the predominant or governing group, being attached to the wrong political views, or being personally obnoxious to or in the way of the prosecutor himself. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. We will now move to 5-minute questions. The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Professor McCord, I congratulate you on your ad hominem attacks on the president, and you're deflecting any part of answers as to the nature of this hearing. Your absence of that shows a great deal about how you have no answers for our questions, but you have answers for your own party persuasion. Mr. Bangert, I apologize in advance. I'm going to focus a little bit over here, but it's not because your organization hasn't been the subject of the attacks by Mr. Fair's organization for what is now a decade and a half. Dr. King, I'll start with you. You wear a cross here today. You spoke of God and Jesus Christ, your deep faith, and the conviction that comes with that faith as to how a just government and a people should act. Is that a fair statement of who you are?
The statement of who I am is just a 75-year-old woman who has experienced so much. I have been personally flagged by SPLC, and I have been on a domestic terrorist list, interestingly enough, for much of my life.
Well, Dr. King, that's the nature of the question. Is that because of who you are, because of your faith, because you have championed the teachings of your father and your uncle? Yesterday, I led a small trip into the Capitol where the rotunda has virtually only presidents of the United States other than Dr. King. Is it in fact his teachings and the teachings of people like that that you follow that has caused you to be so labeled?
I believe that these attacks against me and others are not because only of my faith, certainly because of my faith, absolutely. My uncle, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said that the law may not make you love me, but it can keep you from killing me. And so I believe that many of us are persecuted because of our faith and our beliefs. I think it's a little unfair because I say life from the womb to the tomb and beyond, that I'm on a domestic terrorist list. I think that's unfair.
Well, you join a group of faithful people, as Mr. Bangert mentioned, tend to be what we'd call center-right leading. You knew Charlie Kirk and his work, didn't you?
I did know Charlie Kirk.
And his work, like your work, was about love, people getting along, but it was also about teaching of the benefits of faith, wasn't it?
I was able to make some peace with Charlie before he was killed because he said some bad things about my uncle. I didn't like it. I was upset and I said, Charlie, but one of the last things Charlie said to an African-American young man, he says, our DNA makes us the same, not the skin. Charlie actually said that, and he publicly apologized at a meeting where I was. So Charlie was not an angel. I'm definitely not an angel. President Trump, Biden, Obama, angels, please raise your hand right now. If you're out there, I need to meet you. However, it's misguided compassion that brings us here today.